The living room was draped with pale gold balloons and a crooked streamer that I'd started putting up by myself around 3 in the afternoon. The right end of the streamer hung loose. I tried to tape it 3 times, but couldn't get it to stick. I finally gave up. I let it hang there like a weak limp tail. On the coffee table sat 2 cakes. One was an 8-inch fruit cream cake I'd ordered from the bakery downstairs. The other was brought by Zhao Lin's mother. Lu Fong got a bigger box with a logo from some high-end custom bakery topped with a gold candle. 30. I stood at the kitchen doorway, looking at this 40-square-meter apartment. The living room was crammed with 7 or 8 people. The couch wasn't enough. Zhao Lin's brother-in-law, Zhou Mingxiang, had pulled up a plastic stool next to the TV stand. She was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Zhao Zhengwo sat in the single armchair, flipping through a magazine noisily. Lu Fong was on the balcony on the phone, her high voice cutting through. Yet at that new development. I heard the price went up over 4,000 a square meter. I told you, letting Linlin marry him was a loss. Zhao Lin walked past me, wearing a dark green dress. Her hair pinned up with the sandalwood hairpin I'd given her for her birthday last year. As she passed, she didn't look at me. Her fingers touched the cake box on the table, turning the lid so the gold .30 faced the living room. It was the only gesture she made toward me all day. Shenhua. Zhao. She lifted her head from the couch, phone still in hand, recording. Are you cutting that cake or not? I'm hungry. Waiting until everyone's here. Mom's on the phone. Whatever. It's just us. Zhao. She flipped her camera to selfie mode, made a face at the lens, and hit send. Zhao Zhengwo set his magazine on his lap, looked up, and scanned me from head to toe. I was wearing a light blue striped shirt, last year's clearance, the collar starting to fray. His gaze paused at my collar for a moment, then moved on. He didn't say anything, but a short puff of air escaped his nose. Maybe a laugh, and maybe not. Lu Fong finished her call and came in from the balcony, dusting her hands. All right, let's get started. Mingxiang has things to do. I walked over, inserted the candle, and picked up the lighter. Zhao Lin stood across from me, hands clasped in front of her, expression as calm as if this weren't her husband's birthday party. The flame flickered up. Lu Fong led a flat rendition of Happy Birthday. Going through the motions. Zhao. She hummed a few notes. Zhao Zhengwo didn't open his mouth at all. Halfway through, he urged, blow it out already. The wax is dripping. I blew out the candles. A smattering of applause. Lu Fong picked up the plastic knife and started cutting the cake. With the first slice, she said, Linlin, did you bring the divorce papers? The room went quiet for 2 seconds. The metal edge of my plate clinked against the glass coffee table. I did. Zhao Lin's voice came from across the table. She bent over, pulled a manila envelope from her tote bag, embossed with a law firm's logo. She unsealed it and slid out a stack of A4 sheets, crisp edges, dense black print. She set them beside the cake. A smear of cream stained the edge of the paper. She wiped it with her finger, leaving a white streak. Shenhua. She said, let's make this clear to everyone today. The fragile pretense of cheerfulness vanished. Lu Fong set down the plastic knife, pulled out a chair, and Saturday hands folded in her lap, settling in like she was watching a show. Zhao Shi's phone was still recording, lens aimed at the space between me and Zhao Lin. Zhao Zhengwo's magazine was closed, set on the table's edge. Arms crossed, ankles crossed, 1 foot jiggling. Zhou Mingxiang glanced around, cleared his throat, and scooted his plastic stool a little to the side, I picked up the papers from the cake. They were cold to the touch. The first page read divorce agreement. Below that, 2 parties. Party A. Zhao Lin. Party B. Shenhua. I flipped to page 2. Property division. It was clear. No jointly owned property. The current residence was leased by Party A's parents. After Party A moves out, Party B must vacate within 3 days. Then a list of clauses about savings, vehicle, joint debts, neatly organized. When did you prepare this? I asked Zhao Lin. She met my gaze, her lips pressed together briefly before parting. 3 months ago. 3 months ago. I'd gotten a raise. Not a big one. From $8,000 to $9,200 a month. I'd come home happy that day. Bought a sea base from the market and steamed it. Zhao Lin came home late. The fish had gone cold, and she'd microwaved half of it without comment. I thought she was pleased, or at least not displeased. 3 months ago, she'd still slept beside me, her back warm against my arm, breathing evenly. She'd already had this document ready, carrying it in her tote bag day after day. Shenhua. Listen. Zhao Lin's voice wasn't fast, but each word was clear. But we've been married 5 years. 5 years. You've changed jobs 3 times from 6,500 to 9,200. Do you know what my classmates' husbands are at now? At least a supervisor. A house. A car. A plan. You. She gestured around the room. A 40 square meter rental. The living room can't even fit a decent coffee table. My parents can't even sit comfortably. You're 30. Shinqua. 30 and still like this. Do you think it's going to get better? Lu Fang picked up the thread, her tone, that of a well-meaning elder. Xiaoshan. I'm not trying to be harsh. When Linlin married you, I said he's honest, but he'll never get anywhere. Now look, 0.5 years, and nothing. A man who can't even provide a home, how is a girl supposed to stay with you? Zhao Zhengwo switched his crossed legs, his voice low and heavy in the small space. 9,200 a month. The new guy at Linlin's office. He just graduated, making 15,000. Don't use starting out as an excuse. You've been starting out for 5 years. 10 more years that you'll still be starting out. Zhao Shi's phone never lowered. She zoomed in on the papers in my hand. It then pulled back to frame Zhao Lin's face. You should have done this sooner, sis. Look at that shirt he's wearing, the collar's pilling. His 30th birthday, and he shows up like this. Embarrassing. Zhou Mingqiang rubbed his hands together and muttered, bro-in-law. Maybe just sign it. No point dragging this out. I flipped to the last page. The signature line for Party B was blank. Party A was already signed. Zhao Lin's name. Clean strokes, ink dry. A note box next to it read, Party B voluntarily waives all claims to marital property. No child custody dispute. I picked up the black pen beside the cake. Zhao Lin's, that's still warm from her fingers. I unscrewed the cap and wrote my name in the signature line. Shinqua. 2 characters, 1 stroke at a time. Careful as a schoolboy practicing calligraphy. I closed the agreement and slid it back to her. The cream stain at the edge had dried, leaving a pale yellow mark. There, I said. Zhao Lin tucked the papers back into the envelope, checked the seal, and returned it to her tote. When she looked up, her expression wavered for a moment, her lips parted, but she didn't speak. Lu Fang stood, smoothing her skirt. All right, that's done. The cake. I'll take it. Zhao Shi cut in, but it's already cut. Shinqua. Wrap up your fruit cake for me, I'll have it for breakfast tomorrow. People stood one by one to take plates. The cake was sliced and passed around. Zhao Shi ate while scrolling, phone in one hand. Zhao Zhengwo wandered to the balcony with a half piece, making a call. Zhou Mingqiang hunched on his stool, crumbs dotting his pants. Lu Fang sipped water from a paper cup. Zhao Lin sat on the edge of the couch, the tote with the divorce papers on her lap. I stood at the kitchen doorway, listening to the sounds of my 30th birthday party. Forks scraping paper plates. Zhao Zhengwo on the balcony saying, that project's investable. Zhao Shi's phone blasting some influencers, go, girls. And the thump of Lu Fang crushing her paper cup into the trash. In 01 looked at me. I walked into the bedroom and pulled a suitcase from under the closet. Zhao Lin's things still hung on the rack, her dresses and coats neatly aligned. I opened my side, grabbed shirts, pants, underwear, folded them roughly, and stuffed them in. From the bathroom, my toothbrush and razor went into a plastic bag tucked into the suitcase's side pocket. The whole process took about 6 minutes. I zipped the suitcase. I sat on the bed for a few seconds. My fingers tracing the worn seam on the sheets. From the living room came Zhao Shi's laughter. Probably sending a voice message. Right? Hilarious. He's having a birthday. And I recorded the whole thing. Gonna edit it for Douyin. I carried the suitcase out. As I passed the living room, Zhao Shi looked up. Plastic fork still in her mouth. And mumbled, leaving. Leave the keys. I took the keys from my pocket and set them on the shoe cabinet, the metal jingling softly. Lu Fang crouched by the table. Packing leftovers. Not looking up. Zhou Mingqiang stood awkwardly. Nodded at me. His mouth full of cake. And mumbled, take care. Qua. Zhao Lin stood by the couch. Tote on her shoulder, hands at her sides. The door. I bent to change shoes. Her voice came from behind. LOW. If caught in her throat. Shinqua. I turned. She looked at my suitcase. Then away. You. We'll see about the future when it comes. I said. Finishing for her. I laced up my sneakers. Pulled open the door. The hallway motion light flicked on. Yellow light on paint peeling walls. I walked out. The suitcase behind me. The door clicked shut. I in the elevator. Alone. I saw my reflection in the stainless steel. Stubble that needed shaving. A pilling collar. A ballpoint pen stain on the left cuff that wouldn't wash out. A mark from last month's report. when Zhao Lin had sighed before putting it in the wash. You destroy everything you wear. The elevator reached the lobby. I dragged the suitcase out of the building. It was dark outside. A few streetlights cast dappled shadows across the ground that I looked up at the 12th floor window at the curtains drawn. Warm yellow light glowing through. A shadow moved behind the curtain wavered and vanished. My phone rang. The screen read, Gu Yuan. Hello, Shinhua? How was your party? I said I'd come. And you? Gu Yuan. I stood under the streetlight the suitcase handle cold in my palm. Can I crash with you for a few days? Just a few. 3 seconds of silence. Where are you? I'm coming now. I gave him the street name and hung up. I leaned against the lamppost looking up at the 12th floor window. A narrow gap in the curtain let out a thin blade of light like a quiet watching eye. From that I was probably gone. I looked down lit the phone screen. Zhao Lin's WhatsApp profile was still pinned. Her latest post from 40 minutes ago was a photo of the cake with the caption, Today is also an ending. Moving forward. Zhao, she had commented. Sis, you're finally awake. I long pressed the post and selected hide this user's posts. Then I put the phone away. Gu Yuan's car arrived fast. A beat-up, white Jetta, at least 7 years old. It honked twice and stopped at the curb. He leaned out. Glanced at my suitcase. Then at my face. And asked nothing. Just said, Get in. I threw the suitcase in the trunk. Climbed into the passenger seat. Warm air blew out of the vents. The smell of instant noodles and mint gum. Gu Yuan turned up the heat. Shifted gears. And pulled out. Where to? He asked. Your place is fine. I've slept on that cot before. Hard. But better than the street. Gu Yuan didn't reply. The car merged onto the main road. Streetlights passed one after another, their alternating light and shadow crossing his face. At a red light, he looked at me. Opened his mouth. Then said, That collar. I've got a few new shirts in my closet. Take 2. I leaned into the seat and closed my eyes. The radio played an old song. A raspy male voice singing about keeping sadness to oneself. I listened for a moment. Turned my face toward the window. Glass reflected the city's lights and a blurred face. 30. I'd turned 30. My gift was a divorce agreement and my family's mockery. In the rear view, the 12th floor light grew smaller, merging into the sea of city lights until indistinguishable. Gu Yuan turned into an alley and stopped in front of an old warehouse. He killed the engine and patted my arm. Here, let's get some sleep. Tomorrow's problems are for tomorrow. I hauled the suitcase out. The warehouse's motion light was also dimmed, illuminating rusted green paint on the iron door. Gu Yuan fumbled with his keys, jingling loudly in the quiet alley. I stood in that sound and suddenly thought, 30 isn't such a big deal. Gu Yuan's warehouse looked like an abandoned factory from outside, but inside he'd made it livable. Insulation panels on the metal walls, a fluorescent tube strung from the ceiling. A cot and rows of shelves held dozens of boxes of electronic components he distributed. On the wall opposite the bed hung a used TV and a faded world map with red circles around cities, over 20 of them. 1 for each place he'd visited over 5 years. That night he gave me the cot and slept on a yoga mat with a blanket. I said, No, you take the bed. I'll take the floor. He said, Shut up. It's your birthday. I lay on the creaky cot, staring at the ceiling. A high roof, the fluorescent off, but city light diffused into the room, painting the ceiling a hazy gray blue. Gu Yuan rolled over on the floor. The blanket rustling. Shinhua. His voice came out of the dark. Half asleep. Yeah. Take tomorrow off. I'll call in for you. Rest. I'm fine. A pause. Fine. Tomorrow morning, I'm making instant noodles. 2 eggs. You get 3. I almost laughed. But my face went flat again. I rolled toward the wall. The insulation panel had shallow, wavy grooves. I traced them with my finger. I fell asleep soon after, drawing circles in those grooves. No dreams. The next morning, Gu Yuan boiled a huge pot of instant noodles with 4 eggs. 2 each. He sat on a crate, slurping. I sat on the cot's edge, eating slowly. Sunlight poured through a high window, dust motes suspended like someone had thrown gold powder. You going in today? He set down his bowl, wiped his mouth with his sleeve. Zhao Lin, works normal. She signed. She won't come to me until the court process is done. She knows better. Not that. I mean, he scratched his head. You used to eat lunch together, right? Those people in your department. I know, I said. Zhao Lin and I worked at the same company. Her in marketing, me in tech. Every day for 5 years she'd come to my desk, and we'd walk to the cafeteria together. That wouldn't happen anymore. The colleagues used to seeing us side by side would gossip, ask false concern questions. You okay? I could imagine it. But I still had to go. I don't know why. I just felt that if I stayed in this warehouse hiding I'd prove them right. That I'd be like this forever. On the first day of being 30 I might have nothing. But I could still stand up straight at 9 a.m. I clocked in the familiar beep of the scanner. I walked to my tech department desk. Booted the computer. Next to me, old Joe was eating a bun. He glanced at me and looked away. Across the aisle, Xiao Lu peered over. And when I caught her gaze, she quickly ducked back. Word traveled faster than I expected. Within 2 hours, more people on the floor knew I was divorced than I'd known in my entire life. At noon I didn't go to the cafeteria. I went to the break room for water. As I passed the hallway corner, I heard low voices. Did you hear? Zhao Lin from marketing. Her husband. Ex-husband. Yet the one in tech with the glasses. Just turned 30. No house. No car. Her parents laid into him right at the birthday party. That's brutal. I walked past with my water cup. The two women saw me. Their faces went scarlet. One pretended to scroll her phone. The other fumbled with the coffee machine. Hitting the button wrong twice. I said nothing. Filled my water. And went back to my desk. Around 2 p.m., Zhao Lin came. She was delivering an interdepartmental document, something that could have been emailed. She wore a cream-colored knit cardigan. Her stride as brisk as ever. She stopped at my desk and set the file on top of the folder I was working on. Covering the line of code I was writing. Shenhua. Her voice was low. Several pairs of ears perked up from nearby cubicles, but everyone stared at their screens. Your transfer order. Manager Zhao sent it. You haven't replied. I looked up. She stood beside me. Her phone case was the one I'd bought her last year. Matte gray. With a chip of paint missing in the corner. She probably forgot to replace it. Or just didn't care. I didn't get it. I said, check your email. You have to respond by Wednesday. She turned and walked away. Heels clicking down the aisle. As she passed old Joe, I heard his fawning. Good afternoon, Manager Zhao. I opened my email. There it was. A transfer notice from HR. Subject. Technical Department. Shenhua. Temporary assignment to Chengdu branch. It had been sent at 10 a.m. an hour after I arrived. Probably chosen by Zhao Lin or someone in her network. 6 months in Chengdu. Nominally technical support. Actually moving me out of the office to avoid awkwardness. I didn't reply. I deleted it. After work. I ran into Zhao Lin at the building entrance. She was coming out of the revolving door. Looking down at her phone. I walked past her. She looked up. And the corner of her mouth moved almost imperceptibly. Reflex. Perhaps. Or not. I heard you deleted the transfer email. She said. Yeah. Shenhua. Why? Chengdu is a chance. After probation. Your salary could double. Staying here. Being the subject of whispers. What's the point? I stopped. Wind gusted through the lobby. Stirring her cardigan. She stood in the bright light. I stood outside in the gray-blue dusk at the threshold of the automatic door between us. Zhao Lin. I said, you gave me the divorce papers at my birthday party. You let your family humiliate me. You let your sister record it and post it. You did all of that. And I didn't say a word. But the transfer order. I'm not going. Not out of spite. Because it's a trap. 4 years at this company. And everyone knows the Chengdu office is where they send people to take the fall for failed projects. You're in marketing. You probably know that too. Her expression flickered. As if she hadn't expected me to still think clearly. You're pitying yourself. She said. Her voice half a degree lower. Shenhua. Stop pretending. You're the same as always. Bottling everything up. Aren't you tired? I didn't answer. I pulled open the door and walked into the dusk. Behind me. The glass door clicked shut. I heard her say something else, but the wind and traffic swallowed it. Gu Yuan's Jetta sat at the curb. He rolled down the window. Shenhua. Get in. We're eating well tonight. I got in. He looked at me. Said nothing. And drove toward the west side. He asked what I wanted. I said anything. He said barbecue. The barbecue place was in an unremarkable alley. Small storefront, but the smoky aroma filled the air. The owner knew Gu Yuan. When he saw him, he called out. Same as always. Gu Yuan nodded. Shenhua. Gu Yuan picked up a slice of pork belly with his tongs and laid it on the grill. The sizzle of fat against metal filled the space. Tell me straight. What are you going to do now? Stay at your place. Look for a job. Wait for the divorce to finalize. Not that. Gu Yuan flipped the meat at the sizzle louder. Are you just going to let it go? What they did to you. I stared at the pork curling on the grill. Fat bubbling. Gu Yuan. What can I do? I've got no money. No connections. No backing. Zhao Lin's father runs a small company. At least a few million in assets. Her sister married a businessman. Her brother's in banking. What do I have? My mom's gone. My dad. I paused. That I don't have a dad. Just me. Gu Yuan was quiet. He put the grilled meat in my bowl. Added some pickled vegetables. Eat. Well, think after. I took a bite. The smoky richness hit my nose. Mixing with the sour spicy kick of the kimchi. Something in me began to ease. I realized I hadn't eaten properly since the day before. My stomach was hollow. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Beijing, area code. I answered. Still chewing. Hello, Mr. Shenhua. A middle-aged man's voice. Formal and polite. I'm Shun Guodong from Mingzheng Law Firm. Apologies for the intrusion. I have something from your mother, something I need to hand over in person. I stopped chewing. The meat sat in my mouth, the sauce suddenly tasting strange. My mother, she's been gone 2 years. I know. Mr. Shun. The voice continued evenly. She entrusted it to us before she passed. She left you a letter. And instructed us to deliver it only after your 30th birthday. Additionally, a pause. The grill hissed. Gu Yuan added more meat. Your biological father, Zhou Mingyuan, has been looking for you. My fingers tightened around the phone. The grill's heat warmed my face. Outside, the night was fully dark. The restaurant's warm light made Gu Yuan's face glow. His hand paused over the grill. Glancing at me, he'd noticed my expression. Hello, Shenhua. You okay? I didn't speak. Shun Guodong waited. A drop of oil hit the charcoal with a soft crackled, sparks flaring and dying. Mr. Shun. He said again. If it's convenient, let's meet. This concerns a decision your mother made 30 years ago. I swallowed. My voice came out rough. Tomorrow morning works. Good. I'll send the address. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Mingzheng Law Firm. I hung up and set the phone on the table. The screen still glowed with Shun Guodong's address. Gu Yuan looked at me. Didn't press. He added another piece of meat to my bowl. Eat. Then tell me. I picked up the meat and chewed. The smoke rose. Sucked into the vent with a low hum. Footsteps passed outside in the alley. Approaching, then receding, disappearing into the night. On my second day of being 30, I received a letter from my dead mother. In the name of a father I'd never known. That night I barely slept. The cot was hard, but it wasn't the cot keeping me awake. Shen Guodong's call was a stone thrown into a well. Churning up silt that had settled at the bottom for over 20 years. I thought of my mother's face. The final months in the hospital. She died at 57. Lung cancer. Gone in less than 6 months. I went to her every day after work. She never mentioned my father. Not once. One time I asked, she'd just finished her first chemo. Hair thin as a wisp. And she looked at me. Smiled. And said. He was a good man. We just didn't fit. Then she turned back to the window. I'd thought she was too tired. Now I think she was figuring out how much to say. The next morning, 9:30. I arrived at Mingzheng Law Firm. The building was in the financial district, in 8-meter-high lobby. Marble floors. The receptionist swiped me through. I took the elevator to the 22nd floor and pushed open a heavy wooden door into a conference room. Shun Guodong was already there. A man in his 50s. Neatly combed hair. Gold-rimmed glasses. Dark gray suit. Tie bar precisely placed. He stood and shook my hand. Warm. Dry. Mr. Shun, please sit. Tea or coffee? Tea. He poured me a cup of Longjing. The leaves slowly unfurling in the glass. He took a manila envelope from his briefcase, its opening sealed with faded red wax bearing the letter Z. This is the letter your mother entrusted to us. He slid it across the table. Her instructions were clear. Delivery after your 30th birthday. We kept our word. I picked it up. The envelope was old. Edges worn. But the seal was intact. When she'd applied that wax, she'd still been at home, able to melt the wax, stamp it, seal it herself. What was she thinking? I couldn't imagine. I broke the seal. Inside, a neatly folded sheet of blue-ruled stationery, her favorite. I recognized her handwriting. Round. Slightly slanted to the right. Gentle looking, but each stroke clean. The letter was short. Maybe 500 or 600 words. Xiaoqua. When you read this, you should be 30. I don't know if you're doing well. But I hope you are. If you're not, I'm sorry. I didn't leave you much. If you are, then live well. There's something I've kept from you for 30 years. Not because I didn't want to tell you. Because I didn't know how you'd take it. Your father's name is Zhou Mingyuan. We were both young when we met. We separated for reasons. I was already pregnant, but I didn't tell him. He looked for me. I hid. He searched for years, I kept away. Not because he was bad, I was too proud. I believed a man who couldn't hold his ground didn't deserve my return. I know he's been looking for you. When you read this, if he's still alive, go meet him. If he's not, go see him for me. The best thing I ever did was have you. The worst was leaving you without a father. Don't blame him. No signature. Just a date. A month before she died, that she'd been at her worst. Morning sickness from chemo. Shaking violently. But she'd written this, sealed it, sent it to a lawyer. And gone back to the hospital. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. My fingers numb. The wax pressed into my thumb. Mr. Shun. He waited until I looked up. Regarding Zhou Mingyuan's identity, I should brief you. He is the founder and chairman of Mingyuan Group. You may have heard of it. One of the top 5 real estate developers in the country. Assets exceeding $20 billion. Residential. Commercial. Property management. He started the company at 36. That was exactly 30 years ago. $20 billion. Top 5. 36 years old. 30 years ago. I looked at the envelope's wax seal. My mother had been with a man worth tens of billions. She'd been in her early 20s when she got pregnant. She chose to go alone. Raise me alone. Live in a rundown apartment. Bike to work. See me through college. She'd never driven a car in her life. When she died, her savings account held $48,000, all of it left to me. As for Mr. Zhou's health, Shun Guodong paused. He has advanced liver cancer. He's been in treatment for 2 years. He's been searching for you for over 20 years. Only last year did he confirm your identity through private channels. He didn't approach you directly because he knew your mother didn't want you involved. He asked me to wait until you turned 30. Where is he now? I asked. A private residence in the suburbs. If you're willing, I can take you to see him this afternoon. I drank the tea. The long jing had gone lukewarm. But the fragrance lingered. Sunlight through the blinds striped the table in parallel lines. Falling across the envelope and making the faded seal look redder than before. Yes, I said. This afternoon at 2 p.m. Shun Guodong drove me south. The buildings grew shorter, the greenery thickened, until we turned onto an avenue lined with ginkgo trees. At its end was a black iron gate. The guard opened it with a remote, and we entered a sprawling courtyard with Chinese-style buildings. Gray bricks, blue tiles, a pond with rockeries, winding corridors. The car stopped at the main building. A middle-aged man in a dark blue traditional jacket was waiting. Tall, thin, with steady features. He nodded at Shun Guodong. Then looked at me. Mr. Shun. I'm Mr. Zhou's butler, Chun. He's waiting for you on the second floor. I followed him inside. The light was dim. Dark rosewood furniture and calligraphy hung on the walls. At the landing, a carved wooden window let in light, casting a warm square on the floor. Chen stopped at a door on the second floor and knocked twice. Mr. Zhou. He's here. A voice from inside. Hoarse. Drawn out. Come in. Chen opened the door and stepped aside. I walked in. The door closed behind me. The room was large but spare. A bed by the window, a Celadon teacup, and several pill bottles on the nightstand. Reclining against pillows was a man so thin I barely recognized him as a person. Sunken cheeks, prominent cheekbones, thin white hair plastered to his scalp. He wore a dark brown cashmere cardigan. A cannula taped to his hand connected to an for drip, but his eyes were bright. Not the brightness of a sick man's hope. Something deeper stirred up by too long a wait. He watched me approach. Watch me stand by the bed. Watch me meet his gaze. He said. His voice was like sandpaper on wood, but the word was heavy. You look like your mother. Eyes. Mouth. I didn't know whether to sit or stand. The room smelled faintly of medicine. Sandalwood. And dried herbs. On the nightstand was a black and white photo of a young woman laughing. Short hair. White shirt. Clean features. My mother. My mother in her early 20s. A version I'd never seen. Was she in the hospital? Zhou Mingyuan asked slowly. Pausing to breathe. When she passed. Yes. Was she in pain? They gave her a pain pump. She said it wasn't too bad. He closed his eyes. His lashes were white. His lids were spotted with brown age marks. When he opened them again, the muscles around his eyes twitched. Before she went, did she mention me? I thought about it. In her final days, she mostly stared out the window or slept. But one night, I was keeping watch. And she woke. Her eyes bright in the dark. And gripped my hand. Xiaokua, she said. Forgive me. I thought she meant the money. I said, don't worry, Mom. The 48,000 is plenty. She looked at me. Didn't speak. And closed her eyes again. She did. I said to Zhou Mingyuan. She said not to blame you. He slowly lowered his head. His chin almost touching his chest. His shoulders shook under the cardigan. His breathing grew heavy. When he raised his head, his eyes were red, but dry. I looked for her for 23 years. His voice was even hoarser. That I found out later she'd changed her name. She used to be Gu Chunyan. Later she went by Gu Nian. Nian. Remembering. She was remembering you. Wasn't she? The words came out before I thought. The room fell silent for a long time. Sunlight poured through the window, spreading a pool of gold across the bed. Zhou Mingyuan reached out, his skin thin as paper, blue veins visible, and took the photo frame from the nightstand. He touched the glass, stroking my mother's 20-year-old face through it. I met your mother when I was 28, he said, at a friend's art show. She was wearing a lavender dress, crouching to look at a painting. So focused. Her hair was blowing in the fan's breeze, up and down. I stood behind her for 5 minutes. She didn't turn around. I went up to her and said, "That's a nice dress." She said, "It's not the dress, it's me." And I thought. He smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting a forgotten softness. That I thought of this girl that I want her. He paused to breathe, the 4 dripped slow. He held the frame to his chest, over the cardigan, over his heart. We separated. He continued. My family objected. I was too young, couldn't handle both sides. I chose. He stopped. I chose to compromise. I didn't know she was pregnant. If I'd known, I wouldn't have gone. I sat in the chair by the bed, hands clasped. A breeze lifted the curtain. The celadone tea in the cup had long gone cold, a thin film forming on its surface. Now, Zhou Mingyuan set the frame down and turned to me. His gaze rested on my face. Xiaoqua, I don't have much time. The doctors say a month or 2. I've spent my whole life earning things, but the most important thing, the one I missed for 30 years. His voice dropped. Could you call me Dad? I looked into his eyes. They were disproportionate to his wasted body, bright, holding 30 years of longing. My lips moved. The word was stuck in my throat. I thought of my mother's letter. Don't blame him. Of her last night, gripping my hand. Forgive me, Dad. The word came out quietly, but in the silent room, it was clear enough. Zhou Mingyuan's shoulders collapsed, like a string stretched for 30 years had snapped. He buried his face in the pillow beside the celadone cup, his shoulders heaving in silence. I reached out and pressed his back, feeling the ridge of his shoulder blades through the cashmere. Sunlight crept across the room, from the bed to the floor. The 4 kept dripping, 1, 2, 3, an endless rhythm. And so I began a long farewell, and a beginning of recognition. Over the next 2 weeks I went to that suburban estate almost every day. Gu Yuan had given me the cot. He bought a new folding mattress for himself. He said, "Go spend time with the old man, I want to hear about it when you're back." And he'd wait up, soaking his feet, listening as I sat on the cot in silence. He didn't press. He'd just turn off the light. Zhou Mingyuan's health declined faster than my first visit. Liver pain more frequent. Sometimes he'd stop mid-sentence to press his abdomen, close his eyes for a minute or 2. But he was stubborn. Every morning, he'd call me to his room, sit in the chair, and tell me about Mingyuan Group. He started with the first land plot at the first project in the early 90s, how he went from one residential building to an integrated city complex. The business battles, policy shifts, partners coming and going. His voice was like the last trickle in a dry riverbed, slow, relentless. On the 4th day, he leaned back and looked at me. Xiaoqua, you've managed teams before. 5 people. Tech group, software development. 5. Good. He pulled a thick file from the nightstand. This is the last 3 years of group projects, each with investment structure, profit/loss, key milestones. Read it. Ask Chen if you don't understand. That stack must have weighed 10 pounds. I read it every night in Gu Yuan's warehouse under the fluorescent light, the paper glaring white. I'd never worked in real estate. IT took 3 readings to grass floor area ratio, and convertible bonds. Trust financing, land appreciation tax slowly became familiar, like walking in the dark, testing the ground with each step. Every morning, Zhou Mingyuan quizzed me. Then he'd explain the key logic, never simplifying, always peeling back layers until I could see the skeleton. Your mind's sharp, he said on the 10th day, after a pain treatment left him pale, but alert. Your mother said I knew how to make money, but not how to teach. But you can sit still. Dig in. On the 13th day, he had Chun invite the group's 2 vice presidents, Wei and Zhang, both around 50, impeccably dressed. Their gazes swept over me and moved on to an understated assessment. Zhou Mingyuan introduced me. This is my son, Shenhua. He'll take over after me. Wei and Zhang exchanged a look. Zhang spoke first. Chairman Zhou, this is rather sudden. The group is enormous. This will take time, not time. Zhou Mingyuan cut him off. I spent 30 years building the frame. He spends 3 years learning it. Is that enough? They said nothing more. As Wei passed me in the hall, he gave me his card and said, Mr. Shun, call me anytime. On the 14th day, Zhou Mingyuan had Chen arrange for a notary. He signed a will and an equity transfer, transferring his 45% stake in Mingyuan Group to me. His hand shook. The tip of the pen dragged twice before the first stroke. I watched him. The pen was his calligraphy brush, worn smooth. He set it down after the last signature and leaned back, breathing hard. Xiaoqua? When he caught his breath, he said, I've arranged the media side. After I'm gone, a press conference, VP Wei will host. You'll appear in front of everyone. Are you ready? I held a cup of warm water for him. The heat came through the glass, warm, not hot. I don't know. I said, my mother told me to see you. You told me to take this. Neither of you asked if I was ready. He opened his eyes, a faint smile at his mouth. Are you ready? I'll try. He patted my hand. His skin was dry and thin, like an autumn leaf. Good. Tried. On the 15th evening, I drove back to Gu Yuan's warehouse. Passing a commercial street, a giant LED screen showed Mingyuan Group's ad aerial shots of landmark buildings, ending with the Wanxiang Tianqing project. Mingyuan Group. 30 years of building dreams. A few people waited at the bus stop. A young woman looked up and said to her friend, Another Mingyuan project. I heard the Wanxiang leasing spaces are sold out already. I stood at the back, looking at those words. 3 weeks ago, I knew nothing of this group. Now, between the name and me, there was a 15-page equity agreement and an old man in bed. Back at the warehouse, Ji Yuan was fiddling with an old fan, screwdriver squeaking. Without looking up, he said, Takeouts on the table. Noodles. I sat on the cot and opened the box. The noodles were cold, oil congealed. I poked at them, turning the warm bottom ones up. Gu Yuan fixed the fan, stood, and turned on the TV. The evening news showed a cheering. Mingyuan Group Chairman Zhou Mingyuan's health under scrutiny. Air speculation swirls. They cut to a blurry file photo, with text. Sources say Zhou has named an heir who may reshape the real estate landscape. The announcer read on neutral. Ji Yuan looked at the TV, then at me. Shen Qua. That Zhou. He's not. I swallowed the noodles and nodded. Gu Yuan's mouth opened and closed. He sat across from me, put the remote on the table, and rubbed its edge with his finger. Holy shit. Twice. Shen Qua. Yuda, does your ex-father-in-law know? No. Your ex-wife? No. Gu Yuan leaned back, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. The fluorescent light made his face bright. He seemed to be searching for words. Finally, he looked at me, his expression serious. Shen Qua. When are you going to tell them? The press conference. Which is soon. I said. After the TV went off, Ji Yuan lay on his mat, I on the cot, both silent. Occasionally a car passed in the alley, headlights sweeping through the window and vanishing. Gu Yuan rolled over, his voice muffled from the dark. Shen Qua. When your ex-wife sees you on stage, what do you think her face will look like? I imagined it. Zhao Lin, clutching her matte gray phone case, standing in some ordinary living room, a news notification popping up with me on the podium. She'd stare for a few seconds, then put the phone down, pick it up, put it down. She wouldn't scream or throw things. She's not like that. She'd just sit there, quietly, replaying everything she'd done at the birthday party. I don't know. I said, lights out. Sleep. He grunted, reached for the light cord, click. The room went dark. The city's night glow from outside painted a gray-blue strip across the ceiling. I rolled toward the wall. The wavy grooves of the insulation were invisible in the dark, but I knew they were there. Tangible traces. 15 days ago, I'd lain against this same wall, knowing nothing about Zhou Mingyuan. 15 days ago, I'd been kicked out of my own birthday party by her entire family. I was still on this COT, in the same warehouse. But some things were different. I closed my eyes. Soon, Zhou Mingyuan died on a Wednesday. Morning fog. The estate's gray tiles were wet with dew. The ginkgo leaves looked darkly green. Chen called me as I was changing in the warehouse. Phone on speaker. His voice was even. Emotionless. Mr. Shun. Mr. Zhou passed early this morning. Peacefully. He didn't suffer. I've prepared the rear guest room if you want to come. I stood in the warehouse. A new dark blue shirt in my hands. One sleeve not yet in. The fluorescent buzzed. A bird chirped outside and fell silent. I put on the shirt. Buttoned each button. Smoothed the collar. that I'm coming to AT the estate. Chen stood at the main entrance in a black jacket, a white flower on his arm. He led me in. The door to Zhou Mingyuan's room was closed. Quiet voices from inside, probably doctors. I didn't open the door. I in the guest room. A new photo stood on the table. Zhou Mingyuan on the wicker chair. Beneath the ginkgo tree. I in a light gray cotton shirt, smiling, his eyes full of wrinkles. It was taken 2 weeks ago by Chen. He'd wanted a relaxed portrait. In it, he looked like a different man from the one in the hospital bed. Lean, but alert. Rather than just a skeleton. I sat in the guest room for a long time. The fog slowly lifted. Sunlight came through the clouds. Forming a bright circle in my tea. I looked at his smile once more, but then set the photo down. There was work to do. Before he died, he'd told me. The press conference must happen the day after his death, not a single day later. Capital markets don't care about tears, only about when you play your cards. The press conference was 4 days later, at Mingyuan Group's headquarters in the city center, a 300-capacity hall on the top floor. VP Wei and VP Zhang handled the logistics. Shen Guodong helped with my speech. Chen selected a dark gray suit for me. And a navy blue tie from Zhou Mingyuan's closet, still in its wrapper, with thin silver stripes. Standing before the mirror, I fumbled with the tie twice before getting a proper Windsor knot. It sat at my throat like a hand resting lightly. Mr. Shun. Time. Chen said from outside. I took one last look. The man in the mirror was lean. Upright. His eyes calm. His 30-year-old face, set off by the dark gray suit, had a crispness beyond his years. No trace of weariness. His lips were a straight line. He looked like someone about to finish a task long overdue. I pushed open the door. The conference room was bright, almost blinding. Nearly 300 people packed the hall. At least 20 cameras lined the media section, lenses aimed at the stage. I stood at the side for 2 seconds. VP Wei murmured, "Ready when you are." I walked up. The steps were carpeted. Silent. At the podium. The flash flood erupted. Shutters like rain on a tin roof. I raised a hand. The room gradually fell silent. Good afternoon. My voice filled the hall. I'm Shen Kuo. A low stirred, the unfamiliar name linked to the Mingyuan heir sent people scrambling for their phones. I continued reading the speech at an even pace, recounting Zhou Mingyuan's life, contributions, and passing. When I read that he had personally designated me as his legal heir, the keyboard clicks and murmurs rose. I covered the future development plans, project layouts, strategic direction, keeping my voice steady, showing no emotion. At the end. I paused, looking at the sea of faces. Mr. Zhou told me something I'll never forget. He said, "In 30 years I built many buildings. But the most important one. I missed. I want you to finish it for me." I won't let him down. Applause broke out. Scattered. Then growing. The flashes continued. I inclined my head and stepped down. Wei met me. Media interviews next door. Finance channel and major portals are here. Take 5 minutes. I in the side room. I took a glass of warm water from Chun and drank half. My back was damp with sweat. My phone buzzed furiously in my pocket. I glanced at the lock screen. Flooded with notifications. But my eyes caught one preview. A WhatsApp from Zhao Lin. Sent 2 minutes ago. But just as I'd finished reading the legal airline. Shen Kuo. Is that you? My thumb hovered. I locked the screen and turned it face down. Meanwhile. Across the city. I in the Zhao family's 3-bedroom apartment. The TV was tuned to the finance channel. A young man in a dark gray suit stood on stage and nodded. Zhao Zhengwo's hand froze mid-air with his teacup. Lid clinked against rim. Lu Feng stopped chewing. Apple crumbs at her lips. Zhao Shi's phone lay flat on the table. Screen showing her sister's message. Shen Kuo. Is that you? Beside it. Her face went white as she looked at the screen. Zhao Lin sat at the edge of the couch. Hands clasped on her knees. Fingers twisted white. She stared at the man on TV. Composed. Speaking under the lights. His jaw was sharper than before. His whole bearing seemed crisp. His eyes as deep as still water. The room was so quiet you could hear the refrigerator hum. Zhao Zhengwo was the first to speak. His voice as dry as sandpaper. That's Shen Kuo. Zhao Shi scrolled frantically. Sis. Her voice shook. Mingyuan Group just released the heir's equity details. The heir's name is Shen Kuo. 45%. The press release says he's Zhou Mingyuan's biological son, Zhou Mingyuan. Mingyuan Group. 20 billion. Biological son. Zhao Zhengwo's teacup slipped from his fingers. Shattered on the floor. Porcelain and tea spread. He didn't reach for it. He stared at the screen. The man in gray had the same face that had toasted every spring festival dinner at their table for 5 years, but was now smiling at the nation. Lu Fang swallowed the apple, the sound loud in the silence. She turned to Zhao Lin, her voice breaking. Lin, that paper, the one you had him sign at the party. Zhao Lin bent forward, hands over her face. Her shoulders began to shake, first slight, then violent. She curled into the couch, forehead to knees, like a drawn bow, muffled sounds coming through her fingers. Zhao Shi's phone rang, her fiancé. Zhao Shi, did you see the news? Your brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, he's Mingyuan Groups, my mom just called asking what's going on. She said you're. Zhao Shi hung up. Only Zhao Lin's muffled sobs remained, on TV, the interview ended, and the host was speaking, her voice full of surprise. Mr. Shen Kuo, a newly revealed heir of Mingyuan Group, made his first public appearance today. It is reported that his biological father, Zhou Mingyuan, passed away 4 days ago. Zhao Zhengwo's phone started vibrating, a partner's name. He didn't answer. Then another number, and another. His network was spreading the same message at the same frantic frequency. Lu Fang stood up, sat down, stood again, pulling her apron strings. She walked to Zhao Lin, reached out to pat her back, but stopped. Lin. Her voice thin and soft, what I said at the party, I didn't know. I didn't know. Zhao Lin lifted her face from her hands. Eyes red, makeup streaked, mascara smudged. Her voice was shattered. He wore a shirt with a pilled collar. On his birthday, I gave him the divorce papers. You called him a pauper. She filmed it. Dad said he'd always be nothing. He sat there without a word, signed, and left. The room was dead silent. Outside, evening was falling. City lights began to flicker on point one by one, like a lit fuse. In the Zhao family living room, only the flickering TV lit the 4 pale, frozen faces. After the conference, I got into the back of a black sedan in Ming Yuan's underground garage. Shen was in the front seat. In the rear view, his eyes flicked up. Where did Mr. Shen? The estate or the city apartment? The warehouse? I said, he looked at me in the mirror, asked nothing, and pulled out. The city twilight shifted from deep blue to gray-violet. Streetlights came on in rows, streaming past the window. I leaned back, pulled out my phone, and lit the screen. Zhao Lin's messages were still there. 7 in a row. The first. Shen Kuo. Is that you? Second. I just saw the news. Third. Why didn't you tell me? Fourth. The agreement. Can we talk about it? Fifth. Where are you? I'll come to you. Sixth. Shen Kuo. I'm begging you. Please respond. Seventh. A 50-second voice message. I didn't open it. I scrolled up the chat. The day before the party. Her last normal message. I'll pick up the cake tomorrow. Don't double buy. I'd replied. Okay. Above that were fragments of daily life. Pick up soy sauce on your way home. Movie this weekend. Okay. 5 years of marriage shrunk to shorter and shorter exchanges. On the last page, only my okay. In her silence, I closed the chat and put the phone on my knee. Neon lights flickered past. Shen spoke again. Mr. Shen, would you like me to arrange a better place for your friend? The one in the warehouse. My mouth twitched. No. I still need that place. When the car stopped at the warehouse alley, Jiu Yuan was crouched by the door, smoking. He saw the sedan's lights cast his shadow long. He stubbed out the cigarette and stood. When I got out, he looked me over. Dark gray suit, blue tie, pressed trousers. His expression shifted to a complex smile. Mr. Shen, he said, mocking but light at the end. Riding in style now. Don't call me that. I took off the jacket and draped it over my arm. Let's go up. He followed. The metal steps creaking. I unlocked the door. The fluorescent flickered to life. Everything was as it had been. Cot with a folded blanket, the dog-eared project binder open on the table. The fan in the corner. The air was stale with the scent of unwashed instant noodle bowls. I loosened the tie. Tossed it on the bed. And sat on the cot. Gu Yuan cracked a window. Then looked at me. All mockery gone. Shen Kuo, he said, your ex-wife's family must be in complete meltdown. You going to know? What if they come to you? I looked at the project binder open on the table. Zhou Mingyuan's red pen notes dense in the margins. They will, I said. And when they do, I'll know what to do. Jiu Yuan nodded. Unfolded his mat. I went to the bathroom and changed into an old t-shirt. My phone lit up. Zhao Lin's new message. 3 words. I'm downstairs. Jiu Yuan saw it. He looked at me. Mouthing. Go down. I shook my head. The phone lit again. Shen Kuo, can you come down? Just 5 minutes. And a third. It's raining. I stood and walked to the window. Peering through the crack. A light rain had started. Fine. soaking the pavement dark under the streetlight. Under the light at the alley entrance stood a woman in white, no umbrella, that hair plastered to her face, arms wrapped around herself. She looked up at the warehouse window, too far to read her expression. But I could read the whole curled posture. Gu Yuan peeked, murmured, "Holy crap," and retreated to his mat, pretending to scroll. I stood at the window for about half a minute, the light turning the rain into vertical strands of silver, falling on her and sliding off her shoulders. I closed the window, walked to the cot, and picked up my phone. I typed 2 words, "Go home," for 10 seconds. Silence. Then her messages poured in. "Please, just 5 minutes. I need to talk to you. It's raining. I don't have a car." It's a long walk back. I glanced out, but she was still there, phone in hand, at the screen lighting her face. I stood up, put on my jacket. Gu Yuan looked up. "Point 10 minutes. I said. The stairwell light was out. Dark. I felt the railing. Stepping down one at a time. My footsteps echoing in the metal space. The warehouse door groaned open. Rain rushed in. Damp. Cool. Zhao Lin stood 3 feet away. Her white shirt. Soaked translucent. Revealed the outline of a light shoulder strap. Her hair hung in strands. Her lips tinged purple. When she saw me. Her eyes went bright. A brightness I recognized. 5 years ago. When we were dating. Her eyes at the train station exit looked like that. The you finally came light. But tonight that light was on me. And I was no longer the one who'd finally come. Shenhua. She stepped forward. Splashing in the wet. You've lost weight. Where did you come from? Home. I said. I saw the news and left. I called 3 times. You didn't answer. So I looked up your friend Gu Yuan's address. He picked you up once. I saved it. How did you know? Her lips moved. Rain running off her chin. News. It's all over TV. My parents thought they saw it. She too. Shenhua if they. Her voice cracked. My parents told me to apologize. They said. Did they ask you to come? Or did you come on your own? She paused. Rain ran down her cheek. She opened her mouth. Rain slipped into her lip and out. I wanted to. I came on my own. Those things I said at the party, they weren't true. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't know you. You didn't know what I was. I finished for her, my voice clear in the rain. If today I were still the man in a pilled shirt, a 40 square meter rental, earning $9,200 a month, would you be standing in this alley, in the rain, waiting for me? She froze. The rain clumped her lashes. She blinked at water running down her cheeks, indistinguishable from tears. No. She said, so soft the rain nearly swallowed it. No. But Shenhua, we were together 5 years. 5 years. You can't just. Zhao Lin. I looked at her. The day you handed me the papers. While your parents called me a failure. While your sister filmed. You didn't say a word. You sat on the couch and watched me sign. You put the papers in your tote. Now you're talking about 5 years. How many times in those 5 years did you tell me I wasn't enough? Last year you said I'd never amount to anything. The year before you said, Shenhua, can't you be more ambitious? The year before that you. Stop. She cut me off. Her voice rising. Then dropping. Stop. Shenhua. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. You came down to see me. You still. I came down because you said it was raining. My voice was flat. You were wearing white, umbrella. A woman alone in an unfamiliar alley. It wasn't safe. If it were anyone else I'd have come down. Her lips lost all color. The rain thickened. Water pooling on the pavement. She stood in it, her white shirt clinging to her. Her shadow shrank under the streetlight. Go home. I said, take a cab. I'll send you the fare. I turned and pushed the metal door. Behind me. She called my name. Sharp. Broken. I paused. Turning my head. Rain blurred the space between us. Her face. Wet under the light. It was like an old photograph washed out. You. Her voice faltered. We'll see about the future when it comes. I said. The door closed behind me. Heavy. Solid. The stairwell was still dark. I climbed. My footsteps echoing. At the second floor landing. I paused. Leaned against the wall. A patch of paint crumbled under my palm. Dust falling. Then I climbed on. Back in the warehouse. The fluorescent still on. Gu Yuan looked up. Asked nothing. Just pointed at the table. Boiled some water. Drink. I poured a cup. Sat on the cot. Hands wrapped around the warmth. The rain intensified. Drumming on the tin roof in a steady rhythm. I took a sip. The warmth spreading from my throat down. My phone lit. Zhao Lin's last message. I'm going. Shenhua. I'll come again. I looked at it for 5 seconds, then flipped it face down on the nightstand. Gu Yuan had turned off the light. His blanket rustled. Sleep. He said from the dark. I sat in the dark for a while. Holding the now lukewarm cup. The rain continued. A constant sound like something slowly collapsing in the distance. I set the cup down. Lay back. Pulled the thin blanket to my chin. It rained all night. The next morning. The rain stopped. The air carried a fresh, wash scent. I stood by the warehouse window. Looking at the alley. Still wet. At the puddle under the streetlight reflecting the gray-white sky. Zhao Lin wasn't there. I went to Mingyuan Group as usual. The aftermath of the press conference was like a stone dropped in a pond. Ripples still spreading. For 3 days. Financial media. Real estate blogs. And social media were flooded with discussions about the new owner of Mingyuan Group. Some dug up my background. My previous job at a mid-tier tech company. The fact that I'd never been publicly linked to Zhou Mingyuan before 30. Others found the screenshot of Zhao Lin's deleted post. Today is also an ending. Moving forward. With the birthday cake photo. Some media outlet grabbed it and ran with a loaded headline. Mingyuan Heir's ex-wife. An ending that never ends. I saw the reports but didn't click through. VP Wei sent a daily media briefing. I skimmed the headlines and archived them. In my new office. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the layered CBD skyline. The desk was 5 times larger than my old tech cubicle. On it sat Zhou Mingyuan's photo frame. Taken from the estate's guest room. Him smiling under the ginkgo tree. His eyes watching through the glass. On the third afternoon, Zhao Jingwo's call came through on my office landline. I don't know how he got the number. Probably through someone connected to Mingyuan's middle management. My secretary said Mr. Mr. Zhao is on the line. I picked up. Zhao Jingwo's voice was even more deflated than it had been on TV. Xiao Shen. No. Mr. Shun. He said quickly. With forced urgency. This is Zhao Jingwo. You're in your office. Right. Is it convenient for you two? Uncle Zhao. I said that using the same address I'd used for 5 years. What's the matter? My company. My building materials company. His voice started shaking. The bank called today. They're pulling the line of credit. Citing qualification issues. I asked around. And they said someone high up made a call. Mr. Shun. You. Tell me. Did you? I didn't make any calls. I said. Truthfully, I'd told no one to touch Zhao Jingwo's business. I didn't need to. The market reacted faster. After the story broke. Mingyuan's heir humiliated at his own birthday party by his ex-wife's family. And no one needed to be told. Banks. Partners. Suppliers made their own choices. No one wanted to cross a man with a $20 billion stake. And no one wanted to support a family that had thrown him out. Uncle Zhao. I said into the receiver. I won't interfere in your business. That's between you and your partners. If that's what you're calling about. I can't help you. A long silence. His breathing came through the line. Rough and erratic. Then he said. Mr. Shun. I'm sorry. He hung up. The apology broke off at the end like a snapped string. The Zhao family's collapse came faster and more thoroughly than I'd anticipated. On the 4th day, Gu Yuan read aloud from his phone. Xiaoxi's engagement is off. The man's family withdrew. Said they're not a good match. Your ex-sister-in-law posted a status. People are cold. Posted and deleted. On the 5th day, Zhao Lin's company issued a transfer notice. From marketing to a back-office administrative role. Officially. An internal optimization. But everyone could see it. The marketing director needed to interface with the outside world. And Zhao Lin's name was now tied to Mingyuan's former daughter-in-law. Other companies went stiff around her. No one said Shun Qua had done it. But everyone quietly moved her out of any visible position. The Zhao family was like an old house eaten by termites. It looked fine from the outside, but a push sent it crumbling. All the cracks opened at once. Bank loans frozen. Partners hesitant. Friends pulling back. The people in their circle blacklisted them. Zhao Jingwo's payments to suppliers started falling overdue. Lu Fang's old card-playing friends went silent en masse. Zhao Shi waited 3 hours outside her fiancé's building. He didn't come out. Just a text. Let's talk about us later. I didn't seek this information out. It arrived through news. Through office gossip. Through Gu Yuan scrolling aloud. Piecing together a complete picture. The Zhao family was falling 10 times faster than they had mocked me. On the 10th day, Lu Fang came. Not like Zhao Lin in the rain, but she walked straight into Mingyuan headquarters and told the front desk she was here for Xinhua. When they called my office. I was in a project meeting with VP Wei. Reviewing the final page of the Wanxiang Tianqing leasing plan. I paused. Told Wei to wait. And picked up the phone. Let her up, I said. When Lu Fang entered, the secretary poured water. She didn't touch it. She wore a dark green knit cardigan, that hair neatly combed, that looking much older than at the party, deeper lines around her eyes that had down into her mouth. She stood in front of my desk, hands twisted together, knuckles white. Xiao Shun, she began. The old diminutive was back, but without the contempt. I came today to tell you. Auntie Lu, I said, sit. She sat across from me, hands on her knees, still twisting. The office was quiet. Afternoon sun pooled on the dark wood floor. Lu Fong stared at the light. Her lips moved several times before she forced the words out. Xiao Shun, our family that you've seen. Your uncle's company is about to go under. The bank won't renew. Debts are piling up. Suppliers are at the door every day. Shi's engagement is broken. She won't come out of her room. Lin, she's been transferred, and she's like a ghost. Just sits at home. Her voice faded to near self-murmur. That we were wrong. At the party that we were wrong. I was wrong. I said such awful things. She suddenly slid off the chair, her knees hitting the floor in a dull thud. She knelt in front of my desk. Hands on the floor, gray-streaked hair falling over half her face. Her shoulders shook, her voice cracking. Xiao Shun, I'm begging you. If only for the 5 years Lin had with you, if only for the family we once were, help your uncle. Just say the word to the bank. Tell them to, I stood, walked to her, and reached for her arm. Auntie Lu, first, get up. She looked up, eyes red, tears forming. That I won't get up until you say yes. I looked at her kneeling there, the worn cuff of her green cardigan, the faint tremor in her fingers as they braced the floor. The image overlapped with the memory of Lu Fong at the party. Legs crossed, chin high, saying with superiority. I never should have let her marry him. Same woman, same person, same city, and just weeks apart, kneeling on a very different floor. Auntie Lu. I released her arm and straightened. That I can't help Uncle Zhao's company. Not because I don't want to, but because the help you're asking for has nothing to do with the party. You're asking because you think I can help. You wouldn't be asking if you thought I couldn't. From beginning to end, that you're seeing capacity, not me. Her sobs faltered. She slowly looked up, tears tracking down her cheeks, pausing at her chin, then falling. Stand up. I said, the floor is cold. I'll have someone see you out. She knelt for about 10 seconds, then slowly rose, bracing the chair. Her knees buckled. The secretary helped her out. After the door closed, I stood at the window looking down at the plaza. Lu Fong's figure emerged from the lobby, slowly crossed the square, and got into a cab. At the door, she paused, looking back at the building, the glass tower between us. That night, Zhao Lin sent me a long WhatsApp message. I saw it when I got back to the warehouse. Hundreds of words, I read them slowly. She knew her mother had come to see me. She didn't expect forgiveness for anyone in her family. But she wanted me to know one thing. After the party, she'd watched Zhao Shi's video over and over. Each time she noticed a look on her face she'd never seen before. She called it arrogance. She said she'd spent 5 years building that arrogance, and one night shattering it, the end, she wrote. Shen Kwa, I'm not asking you to come back. I just want you to know. I remember what you wore on your 30th birthday. The light blue striped shirt with the pilled collar. It actually looked good on you. I stared at that last line for a few seconds, then turned off the screen. The night wind through the window brought the cool of the city. Gu Yuan rolled over on his mat. I mumbled something, and fell back asleep. I put the phone on the nightstand, rolled toward the wall, and traced the wavy grooves with my fingers. I counted up to 30 and stopped, pressing my hand flat against my chest point. 10 days later, Zhao Zhengwo's company was on the bank's non-performing list. Supplier demand letters stacked at his door. Zhao Shi's fiancé's family formally called off the engagement. Half the betrothal gift returned, the rest withheld as emotional damages. Zhao Lin, after her transfer, took extended leave. Friends and relatives retreated into their shells. No one called. I wasn't waiting for this. I did what I needed to at Mingyuan. Reviewing projects, signing documents, board meetings, meeting with core management. At the Wanxiang Tianqing Phase 2 planning meeting, I proposed 3 revisions. VP Wei and VP Zhang exchanged looks and approved. Chen said I was becoming more like Zhou Mingyuan. The way I spoke, the way I held a pen, even the crisp way I closed a folder. On the 21st day, Zhao Zhengwo called again. This time his voice was completely dried out. A tree stripped of all moisture. Cracked and brittle. Mr. Shun. He didn't call me Xiao Shun or Shen Kwa. He used the safest, most distant address. I know I shouldn't disturb you, but I have no other way. Could you? His voice broke, breathing heavy. Could you see me? Just once. I'll come alone. No one else. 10 minutes at your building. Please. That I sat in my office. The coffee beside me had gone cold. That a film forming on the surface. Outside. Late June Beijing was in full summer, the white sun glaring off the glass towers. Tomorrow at 9. I'll meet you downstairs, I said. The next morning at 9 a.m. I came out through the side entrance and walked to the outdoor seating area of the front plaza. Zhao Jingwo was already there, sitting on a stone bench with a black briefcase. He wore his usual gray-blue jacket, but it hung loose, shoulders empty, as if he'd shrunk. When he saw me, he stood quickly and started toward me, then stopped a step away, his hands rubbing his pants seams. Mr. Shun, he said, his Adam's apple bobbing. Uncle Zhao. I said the same as before, those words, his eyes reddened. His lips trembled. He fumbled in the briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers, a handwritten repayment plan, scrawled and corrected in places, marked with what might have been water or sweat. All the debts I owe, he said, his voice dry as dead branches. Over 3 million total. The company has shut down. I've mortgaged the house, sold the car. I've scraped together about 800,000. The rest. His voice faded. I was going to ask you for a loan. But last night Lin talked to me. She said I shouldn't. She said I should have you sign this instead. He pulled out a printed document, a waiver. The Zhao family would no longer have any economic or legal connection to Shinku in any form, for any reason. Zhao Lin voluntarily waived all unlisted marital property claims. All matters settled from this day forward. Below. Signatures. Zhao Jingwo, Lu Feng, Zhao Lin. Zhao Shi's line was blank. She wouldn't sign. Zhao Jingwo said quickly. She said she had no right. She didn't object. It just wouldn't come out. I looked at Zhao Lin's signature on the waiver, taller, thinner strokes. Hit the tail lifting less decisively than on the divorce papers. Lighter. Like she was running out of strength. Uncle Zhao. I folded the waiver. I'll keep this. As for your debts, his head shot up. A dying candle flickering one last time. I'm not giving you a loan. The flicker died. His shoulders slumped. He lowered his head, staring at his worn shoes. I understand, he said, but Mingyuan Group will buy the core assets of your building materials company. I said, at 80% of market value. After you sign the transfer, use that money to pay your debts. Keep the rest. My only condition. Keep your workers to no layoffs. Zhao Jingwo stared, his mouth open. 0.80%, Mr. Shin. I can pay off everything with 80%. You keep 20. I said, that's your starting capital. If you want to work again, start small. No one will shut you out because you cross someone. But start small. Step by step. His eyes went fully red. He stood in the plaza. His gray-blue jacket lifting and falling in the breeze. He wiped his eyes with his sleeve, then gave up and covered his whole face with his palm. His shoulders shook. Muffled sobs came through. Like an old engine's last breaths. I didn't pat his shoulder. I didn't say more. When he calmed, I said someone would contact him tomorrow about the process. Then I said, Uncle Zhao. I have a meeting. And turned toward the building. He called after me. Mr. Shun. His voice was still hoarse. At the party. What I said, that you'd never amount to anything. I looked back. Sunlight fell on my face, making his look even older. The arrogance and distance I'd seen for 5 years were worn away, leaving the ordinary face of an old man, wrinkled, lips working for words. Uncle Zhao. I said, I've forgotten that day. You should too. I walked into the revolving door. In my peripheral vision, he stood there, clutching the briefcase, his back bowed, like an old tree bent by the wind. He stood for about a minute, then slowly turned and walked out of the plaza. That afternoon, Zhao Lin asked to meet me at a cafe across from my office. She said 10 minutes was all she needed. I said I'd come. The cafe was small. Quiet in the afternoon. She sat in a corner booth, an untouched Americano in front of her. She wore a simple white cotton shirt, hair loose, face bare, calmer than the rainy night. But her eyes were still a little swollen. She raised her hand in a small waved, as if afraid the motion would break something. I sat across from her. The waiter came. I ordered hot water. She looked at me. A small smile crossing her face. Not the practiced social smile, nor the false intimacy, just a light, relieved curve. Shinqua, she said. Thank you. I saw my father go home this morning and cry. He rarely does. I've never seen him like that. Don't thank me. I know. You didn't know me, or my family. She traced the rim of her coffee cup. I just wanted to say, the divorce agreement. I burned my hand on the warm glass, paused. The original is here. I kept the copy for the court. She looked up at me. I burned the original. On the balcony with a lighter. I went through a whole box of tissues. Not because you're Mingyuan now. Because I finally understood. 5 years ago. When I married you. You weren't Mingyuan. 5 years ago. I loved the quiet guy in the plaid shirt who'd crouched to tie my shoes. He never changed. I did. She spoke slowly. As if the words had been rehearsed many times, but still needed to be drawn out one by one. Her fingers traced the rim of the cup. The coffee had long gone cold. Shen Kwa. I won't come back after this. Today is the last time. I'll say what I need to say. And then I'll go. Live your life however you want. You deserve it. Sunlight fell through the window. Brushing her shoulders in a thin gold. I looked at the woman across from me. Once the closest person in my life. Then the most distant. Now she sat there saying, "Live well." Zhaolin. I said. My voice softer than I'd intended. You too. You're capable. It's not too late. Her eyes reddened for a moment, but she sniffed and held it back. She smiled, the smile that crept from her lips to her eyes, broader than when she'd entered. Then do me a favor, she said. When your Wanxiang Tianqing Mall opens, give me a number for leasing. If I start a small shop someday, don't block my application. I blinked. Then my mouth curved up involuntarily. Done. I'll give you an internal line. She stood, picked up her bag, and paused as she passed me. Her hand pressed my shoulder, warm through the shirt, then let go. Goodbye, she said. Take care, Shen Kwa. Take care. She walked out, her white shirt passing through the glass door into the street crowd. The afternoon sun slanted over her, softening her silhouette. She didn't look back. I finished my hot water, paid, and walked out. Across the street, Ming Yuan's headquarters soared into the June sky, blue and bright. I in the lobby, the elevator was open. I stepped in and pressed the top floor. My phone buzzed. Ji Yuan. What's for dinner? I'm not cooking. My treat. I typed back. Barbecue. He sent an OK emoji. The elevator doors opened. The sun filled the hallway, glowing on the dark wood floor. I walked to my office. Zhou Mingyuan's frame sat on the desk, quiet and smiling. The CBD sky was a sheet of blue. I sat down, opened my laptop, and started on the afternoon files. On the corner, the project binders page turned in the breeze, then settled. I pressed it flat, my finger lingering a moment on his red-inked note. Better to be feared than loved. But truly solid ground is where you command both. I closed the binder and set it aside. Sunlight poured across the desk in a full sheet of gold. I looked up at the light, then back down at the pages. A new page just turned.